And welcome inside to another edition of Clutch Up. I am your host, Donny Travis, and today we have a very special edition of Clutch Up for you because we're starting to play around a little bit more and we're starting to play with some new features. So I hope you enjoy this edition of Clutch Up. And the first thing we're going to start off with is the not overtime, but a last minute thriller between the Baltimore Ravens and the Miami Dolphins that ended in 42-38 in favor of the Miami Dolphins. Lamar Jackson threw for 21 of 29 completed passes for 318 yards. That was good for 3 touchdowns as well. And he also carried the ball 9 times on the ground for 119 yards, including 1 touchdown. However, he was outdone by his counterpart on the Miami Dolphins of Tua Tagovailoa, who threw 36 of 50 completed passes for 469 yards. He threw for 2 interceptions as well. However, he made up for it with 6 touchdowns, including a last-minute drive touchdown to Jalen Waddle. So congratulations to the Dolphins. However, this is a rocky start for the Baltimore Ravens as Lamar Jackson, he's still playing on his final year of his contract. So we're still seeing how this year plays out. And who knows where any and everything can go from here. It is only week 2 of the season as well. And as we talked about before in the past, his contract is expiring. This can lead to a new deal for him, depending on how the year goes, or if the team doesn't like the direction that he's headed in, it could also lead to him potentially being traded in the middle of the season. We are not sure. It's too early to tell what may happen, but right now, Lamar Jackson, things are very questionable for his future in Baltimore. Also, in other news in the NFL, Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Evans has actually been suspended for 1 game for his involvement in an on-field altercation between him and New Orleans Saints defensive back Marshawn Lattimore. Now, this is not the first time that Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore have actually gotten into it. This has been really a 5-year, I don't even want to say rivalry, because this is already a divisional rivalry between the Buccaneers and Saints. But for this seems more personal than ever. This started in 2017 when Mike Evans actually shoved Marshawn Lattimore to the ground back in 2017 after Lattimore shoved then Buccaneers QB Jameis Winston for touching the back of his helmet. Now, this past week, he shoved Lattimore again to the ground, but this was because he was going back and forth with Tom Brady, who was the Buccaneers quarterback, and Lattimore and Evans, everybody says that they do not like each other. And as I said before, Mike Evans will be serving a 1-game suspension for his involvement. No other players were suspended. However, Lattimore and Evans were both ejected from the game at this time. Lattimore is not going to receive any type of suspension because he didn't really provoke any of the action that was done. It was more so Mike Evans taking the stand himself and shoving Lattimore to the ground. So that is the suspension that he will be serving, and can't wait to see how both those teams respond. The Ravens' next game is going to be at the Patriots on the 25th at 1 p.m., and that's going to be on Fox, so be sure to check your local listings for that. Moving right along, we are heading into the MLB news, and it's very rare for us to be talking about one major MLB story, but we have 2 major MLB stories going into this week. And as we're closing out the end of the season for the MLB, as Aaron Judge actually hit his 60th home run of the season last night in a come-from-behind victory over the Pirates. He is at 60 right now. The AL record that we have talked about before is held by fellow Yankee Roger Maris, who set that all the way back in 1961. Aaron Judge is on pace to break that and have more, as he's on pace to finish with 66 home runs this year. So there's only one way to figure out if he actually does it, and that's to watch and see. Their next game, the Yankees will be playing the Pirates at home at 7:05 p.m. That's when they're scheduled for first pitch, and you can catch that game on ESPN+. The other major baseball story that we have, a home run story, is the machine Albert Pujols currently has 698 career home runs, and that is just 2 shy of 700 career home runs, which has only been done by 3 other players: Babe Ruth, who finished with 714 in his career, Hank Aaron, who finished with 755 in his career, and Barry Bonds, who finished with 762. Of those 3 names that I just mentioned, only 2 of those names are currently in the Hall of Fame, and that is very good company for Albert Pujols to be around. It's unsure if he's going to be returning for the 2023 MLB season, so there's only a handful of games left in this season if he wants to get that done. I seriously don't believe that the home runs, 700 career home runs, are going to be something he wants to come back and play another season for. But like I said, never know what might happen. His next game is scheduled to play. The Cardinals are scheduled to play at San Diego Padres at 9:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that is a local market game. So be sure to check your local listings. And the other thing that we are going to be discussing is we're still looking at the playoff picture as we are getting down to the nitty gritty. The Houston Astros are the number one seed as of right now. This, by the way, this is what the MLB picture, a playoff picture, would look like if the playoffs were to start today. The Houston Astros, after clinching their division, would be the number one seed. The New York Yankees are number 2. The Toronto Blue Jays sitting at number 3. The Tampa Bay Rays will be number 4, and the Seattle Mariners and Cleveland Guardians will make up 5 and 6 on the American League side. On the National League side, the Los Angeles Dodgers have already clinched their division, and they would be sitting in the number 1 seed. The New York Mets have already clinched a playoff berth, and they would have the number 2 seed. Atlanta Braves as well, they clinched a playoff berth, and they would be sitting in the number 3 seed. And number 4 would be the St. Louis Cardinals. 5 would be the San Diego Padres, and the number 6 would be the Philadelphia Phillies. So there's a lot of key matchups as we are getting to the end of the MLB season that can really make up, change this playoff picture drastically. So you never know what teams may be in it, but here are the teams that are actually eliminated from playoff contention as of this year: the Washington Nationals, the Oakland A's, Pittsburgh Pirates, Detroit Tigers, Cincinnati Reds, Kansas City Royals, Miami Marlins, Chicago Cubs, the Texas Rangers, Colorado Rockies, and the Los Angeles Angels are all out of playoff contention as of this time, but there's always next season for all these teams. So they won't be in it this year, but there's always next year. And while we're talking about playoffs, we're actually going to move over to the WNBA side of everything. And a congratulations is in order to the Las Vegas Aces, who took down the Connecticut Sun in a best-of-5 series as they won the series 3-1. And this is the first title in organization history. They've had 4 years as the Las Vegas Aces. They've been in the Las Vegas area for 4 years now. This is the first pro sports title for the city of Las Vegas. So this is congratulations to them. They're turning up right now, I'm sure, somewhere. Superstar Asia Wilson said, if you're not coming 4 shots deep to the parade, don't come at all. And also congratulations to the WNBA Finals MVP Chelsea Gray, who finished the finals with 18.3 points per game and averaged 6 assists per game as well. So major congratulations to them, and we'll see if they can keep this up as we head into next season. Staying with the NBA, we talked a little bit last week about Phoenix Suns and Phoenix Mercury owner Robert Sarver, who was fined $10 million and banned for 1 year for alleged racism and misogynistic comments that he made. Now it is being reported now that he is in talks, in the process, to sell both franchises, which actually a lot of the NBA players were calling for. LeBron James, Chris Paul, and Draymond Green have all voiced their disapproval of the decision, whether it be the punishment fell short or they wanted to push to him to sell the team or have the owners push for him to sell the organizations. Now, this is an interesting thing because the league requires a vote of 3/4 of the board of governors to remove an owner. And at the time, just to bring it back for a second, there has been a major ban of this magnitude before in the NBA by a man by the name of Donald Sterling, who made racist remarks about his team, what was then the Los Angeles Clippers, who he's then the owner of, but under new owner Steve Ballmer. Ultimately, Donald Sterling was forced to sell the team, and he was banned for life from the NBA facilities and all the things of that nature. So it's interesting to see how a lifetime ban then in 2014 versus a 1-year ban now is really being handled. But as I said, Robert Sarver, he's currently looking to sell both franchises. So this is a developing story, and we'll be sure to keep you updated as time goes on. And we're moving right along. We're going to be doing some HBCU football roundup scores. Oklahoma State, first of all, we're starting in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Oklahoma State took down Arkansas Pine Bluff by a score of 63-7. Jackson State defeated Grambling by a score of 66-24. Jackson State now moves to 3-0 on the season and 2-0 in the SWAC. Meanwhile, Grambling is now 1-2 on the season and 0-1 in the SWAC. Austin Peay defeated Alabama A&M by a score of 28-3. Alabama A&M now moves to 0-3 on the season. Incarnate Word defeated Prairie View A&M by a score of 31-14. Prairie View now moves to 1-2 on the season. They are 1-1 at home. Delta State defeated Mississippi Valley State by a score of 28-17. Mississippi Valley now moves to 0-3 on the season. Alcorn State defeated McNeese by a score of 30-19. Alcorn now moves to 1-2 on the season. And Texas Southern defeated Southern by a score of 24-0. Texas Southern now moves to 1-2 on the season, 1-1 in SWAC conference play. Meanwhile, Southern moves to 1-2 on the season and 0-1 in the SWAC conference play. So we're still seeing, it's very early in the season to see how everything plays out for this division and this conference, but with 14 teams in the SWAC, it's truly anybody's grab. Moving right along to the Middle Eastern Athletic Conference, Morgan State defeated Sacred Heart by a score of 24-9. They now move to 1-2 on the season and 1-0 at home. Hampton defeated Norfolk State by a score of 17-7. Hampton moves to 3-0 on the season. Norfolk State still struggling to find that first win as they move to 0-3. Delaware State defeated Virginia Lynchburg by a score of 35-19. Delaware State is now 2-1 on the season. Howard defeated Morehouse College 31-0. Howard is now 1-3 on the season as Morehouse is still looking for their first win on the season as they are 0-3 right now. And North Carolina Central defeated New Hampshire by a score of 45-27. North Carolina Central is currently undefeated at 3-0 and 1-0 when they're on the road. And the last thing I have for you guys today is on this day, the NFL Monday Night Football made its broadcasting debut on ABC TV. That game was played between the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets, and the Browns would win that game in 1970 by a score of 31-21. Also worth noting on this day, the NFL Players Association began a 57-day strike, and it was the first regular season walkout, and it was shortened the season 1982 season to just 9 games. So it is very interesting to see how far the NFL has come. And it's also worth mentioning, and I want to say this if I haven't said it in past broadcasts as well, rest in peace to John Madden, who, if you know who John Madden was, he was really the face and the epitome of what it meant for American football, because his influence, there's a video game for the NFL named after him, and his influence in the NFL and on life in general was taken from us, but he will certainly never be forgotten. As I always say on the show, heroes get remembered, but legends never die, and John Madden is certainly a legend. That is all the time I have for you this week, but be sure to be checking back with us next week because it's always something new, and we're always continuing and striving to get better. Thank you for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Till next time, clutch up.